Hello and shalom, Mishpachah and Avraham, and all who join us here for this fellowship to share the word. Today we'll read Yobelim chapters 13 to 15. I've left up the glossary and the punctuation guide for your reference. Okay, before we start, let's bow our hearts and hand this over to Abba Yahweh Elohim. Most beloved Abba Yahweh, we come before you to worship you most humbly, to praise and glorify you, and to thank you for bringing us here together in fellowship to share your word. Please open our eyes, our ears and hearts to see, hear and understand the words of this book with your wisdom, your knowledge and understanding, and not of our own. Reveal your message to our hearts, Father. Please feed our desire to get to know you and draw us ever more away from the desires this world presents to us. Fill us full of your Ruach HaKodesh and always keep us company while we walk this lonely path. Only you do we seek, only you do we worship, and only you do we ask for help. Through Yeshua in Yahweh, Yahweh our Kodesh, dedicated Elohim, Yahweh Echad, Yahweh is one. Amen. Now let's get comfortable to hear these words. Chapter 13. And Avraham journeyed from Haran, and he took Sarai, his wife, and Lot his brother, Haran's son, to the land of Canaan. And he came to the land, and proceeded to Shechem, and dwelt near a great terebinth. And he looked, and see, the land was very pleasant, from the entering of Hamath to the great terebinth. A terebinth is like a strong, hardy tree. Some say it's an oak. The original word is elah. Continuing. And Yahweh said to him, To you and to your seed I shall give this land. And he built an altar there, and he offered a burnt offering on it to Yahweh, who had appeared to him. And he moved from there to the mountain Beth El, on the west of Ai, on the east, and pitched his tent there. And he looked, and see, the land was very wide and good, and all grew upon it, vines and fig trees and pomegranates, oaks and mulberries, and terebinths, and olive trees, and cedars, and cypresses, and date palms, and all trees of the field, and there was water on the mountains. And he barak Yahweh, who had led him out of Kasdim, and had brought him to this land. And it came to be in the first year, in the 7th week, on the new moon of the 1st month, that he built an altar on this mountain, and called on the name of Yahweh. You, the everlasting Elohim, are my Elohim. And he offered on the altar a burnt offering to Yahweh, that he should be with him, and not forsake him all the days of his life. And he moved from there, and went toward Negev. And he came to Hebron, and Hebron was built at that time. And he dwelt there 2 years. And he went to the land of the Negev, to Bet Aloth, and there was a scarcity of food in the land. And Avraham went into Mitzrayim, into Egypt, in the 3rd year of the week. And he dwelt in Mitzrayim 5 years before his wife was taken away from him. Now, Tanis in Mitzrayim was at that time built, 7 years after Hebron. And it came to be, when Pharaoh seized Sarai, the wife of Avraham, that Yahweh plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Avraham's wife. And Avraham was very rich by reason of possessions in sheep, and cattle and donkeys and horses and camels, and male and female servants, and in silver and gold exceedingly. And Lot also, his brother's son, was wealthy. And Pharaoh gave back Sarai, the wife of Avraham, and he sent him out of the land of Mitzrayim, and he journeyed to the place where he had pitched his tent at the beginning, to the place of the altar, with Ai on the east and Beth El on the west. And he barak Yahweh his Elohim, who had brought him back in peace. And it came to be, in the 41st Yovel, in the 3rd year of the 1st week, that he returned to this place, and offered a burnt offering there, and called the name of Yahweh, and called on the name of Yahweh, and said, You, the Most High El, are my Elohim forever and ever. And in the 4th year of this week, Lot parted from him, and Lot dwelt in Sodom. And the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked, and it grieved him in his heart that his brother's son had parted from him, and he had no children. And in that year, when Lot was taken captive, Yahweh said to Avraham, after Lot had parted from him in the 4th year of this week, Lift up your eyes from the place where you are dwelling, northward and southward and westward and eastward, for all the land which you see I shall give to you and to your seed forever, and I shall make your seed as the sand of the sea. Though a man may number the dust of the earth, yet your seed shall not be numbered. Arise, walk in the length of it, and the breadth of it, and see it all, for to your seed I shall give it. And Avraham went to Hebron, and dwelt there. And in this year, Kedola Omar, sovereign of Elam, and Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, and Arioch, sovereign of Elasar, and Tidal, sovereign of Goyim, came and slew the sovereign of Amorah, and the sovereign of Sidom fled, and many fell through wounds in the valley of Siddim by the salt sea. And they took Sodom and Adam and Seboim captive, and they also took Lot captive, the son of Avram's brother, and all his possessions, and they went to Dan. And one who had escaped came and told Avram that his brother's son had been taken captive, and he armed his household servants for Avram and his seed at 1/10 of the first fruits of Yahweh. And Yahweh ordained it as a law forever, that they should give it to the Kohanim who served before him, and they should possess it forever. And to this law there is no limit of days, for he has ordained it for the generations forever, that they should give to Yahweh the 10th of all, of the seed, and of the wine, and of the oil, and of the cattle, and of the sheep. And he gave it to his Kohanim to eat and to drink with joy before him. And the sovereign of Sidom came to him and bowed himself before him and said, Our master Avraham, give to us the beings which you have rescued, but let the booty be yours. But Avraham said to him, I lift up my hands to the Most High El, that from a thread to a sandal strap I shall not take any that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Avraham rich, except only what the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Anna, Eshkol, and Mamre, these shall take their portion. Chapter 14. After these matters, in the 4th year of this week, on the new moon of the 3rd month, the word of Yahweh came to Avraham in a dream, saying, Do not fear, Avraham, I am your defender, and your reward shall be exceedingly great. And he said, Adonai, Adonai, what shall you give me, seeing I go childless, and the son of Masek, the son of my female servant, is Eleazar of Damasek. He shall be my heir, and to me you have given no seed. And he said to him, This shall not be your heir, but one that shall come out of your own body, he shall be your heir. And he brought him outside, and said to him, Look toward the Shamayim, and number the stars, if you are able to number them. And he looked toward the Shamayim, and saw the stars. And he said to him, So shall your seed be. And he believed in Yahweh, and it was reckoned to him for righteousness. And he said to him, I am Yahweh, that brought you out of Kasdim, to give you the land of the Canaanites, to possess it forever. And I shall be Elohim to you and your seed after you. And he said, Adonai, Adonai, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said to him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, and a 3-year-old ram, and a 3-year-old sheep, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took all these in the middle of the month, and he dwelt at the terebinth tree of Mamre, which is near Hebron. And he built there an altar, and slaughtered all these. And he poured their blood on the altar, and cut them in the middle, and placed each half opposite the other. But he did not cut the birds. And birds of prey came down upon the carcasses. But Avraham drove them away, and did not allow the birds of prey to touch them. And it came to be, when the sun had gone down, that a deep sleep fell on Avraham, and see, a frightening great darkness fell upon him. And it was said to Avraham, Know for certainty that your seed shall be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and they shall bring them into bondage, and afflict them 400 years. And the nation also to whom they shall be in bondage I shall judge, and after that they shall come out from there with great possessions. And you shall go to your fathers in peace, and be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall return here, for the wickedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. And he awoke from his sleep, and he arose, and the sun had gone down, and there was a flame, and see, a smoking oven and a burning torch passed between the pieces. And on that day Yahweh made a covenant with Avraham, saying, To your seed I shall give this land, from the river of Mitzrayim to the great river, the river Perath, the Canaanites, the Kenizzites, the Kadmonites, the Perizzites, and the Rephaim, the Phakorites, and the Hivites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. And the day passed, and Avraham offered the pieces, and the birds, and their grain offerings, and their drink offerings, and the fire devoured them. And on that day we made a covenant with Avraham accordingly, as we covenanted with Noah in this month. And Avraham renewed the festival and law for himself forever. And Avraham rejoiced, and made all these matters known to Sarai his wife. And he believed that he would have seed, but she did not bear. And Sarai advised her husband Avraham, and said to him, Go into Hagar, my Mitzrite female servant. It may be that I shall build up seed to you by her. You see, I'd like to say here, she should have trusted Yahweh, and she should have trusted her husband, and she didn't, and therefore she sent her man to another woman. Ouch. Anyway, continuing. Avraham listened to the voice of Sarai, his wife, and said to her, Do so. And Sarai took Hagar, her female servant, the Mizrite, and gave her to Avraham her husband to be his wife. And he went in to her, and she conceived and bore him a son, And he called his name Yishmael in the 5th year of this week. And this was the 86th year in the life of Avraham. Wow. Chapter 15. And in the 5th year of the 4th week of this Yovel, in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, Avraham celebrated the festival of the first fruits of the grain harvest. And he offered new offerings on the altar, the first fruits of the produce to Yahweh, a heifer and a goat and a sheep, on the altar as a burnt offering to Yahweh. Their grain offering and their drink offering he offered on the altar with frankincense. And Yahweh appeared to Avraham and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Approve yourself before me and be perfect. And I shall make my covenant between me and you, and I shall multiply you exceedingly. And Avraham fell on his face, and Elohim spoke to him and said, See, my law is with you. You shall be the father of many nations. And then, chapter 15, verse 7. No longer shall your name be called Avraham, but your name from this time, even forever, shall be Avraham, for I have made you the father of many nations. See also Genesis 17, verse 5, to tally up with that. Okay, verse 8. And I shall make you very great, and I shall make you into nations, and sovereigns shall come forth from you. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you throughout their generations, for an everlasting covenant, so that I may be Elohim to you and to your seed after you, to give to you the land where you have been a sojourner, the land of Canaan, that you may possess it forever, and I shall be their Elohim. And Yahweh said to Avraham, And as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your seed after you, and circumcise every male among you, and circumcise your foreskins, and it shall be a sign of an everlasting covenant between me and you. And the child on the 8th day you shall circumcise every male throughout your generations. He that is born in the house, or whom you have bought with silver from any stranger, whom you have acquired, who is not of your seed. He that is born in your house shall surely be circumcised, and those whom you have bought with silver shall be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting law. And the uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin on the 8th day, that being shall be cut off from his people, for he has broken my covenant. And Elohim said to Avraham, As for Sarai your wife, her name shall no longer be called Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. See, he put a ha sound in both their names. I think that's to do with their worship. Continuing. And I shall barak her, and give you a son by her, and I shall barak him, and he shall become a nation, and sovereigns of nations shall proceed from him. And Avraham fell on his face and rejoiced, and said in his heart, Shall a son be born to him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bring forth? And Avraham said to Elohim, Oh, let Yishmael live before you. And Elohim said, Yes, but Sarah shall also bear you a son, and you shall call his name Yitzchak, and I shall establish my covenant with him, an everlasting covenant. and for his seed after him. And as for Yishmael, I have also heard you, and see, I shall barak him, and make him great, and multiply him exceedingly, and he shall bring forth 12 princes, and I shall make him a great nation. But my covenant I shall establish with Yitzchak, whom Sarah shall bear to you in these days, in the next year. And he left off speaking with him, and Elohim went up from Avraham, and Avraham did accordingly as Elohim had said to him, and he took Yishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and whom he had bought with his silver, every male in his house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin. And on the same day Avraham was circumcised, and all the men of his house, and all those whom he had bought with silver from the children of the stranger, were circumcised with him. This law is for all generations forever, and there is no circumcision of the days, and no omission of one day out of the 8 days. For it is an everlasting law ordained and written on the tablets of the Shamayim. And every one that is born, the flesh of whose foreskin is not circumcised on the 8th day, does not belong to the children of the covenant, which Yahweh made with Avraham, but to the children of destruction. Nor is there, moreover, any sign on him that he is of Yahweh, but to be destroyed and slain from the earth, and to be rooted out of the earth. For he has broken the covenant of Yahweh our Elohim. For all the messengers of the presence and all the messengers of Kodeshah have been so created from the day of their creation, and before the messengers of the presence and the messengers of Kodeshah he has Kadosh Yisrael, that they should be with him and with his Kodesh messengers. And you shall command the children of Yisrael, and let them observe the sign of this covenant for their generations as an everlasting law, and they shall not be rooted out of the land. For the command is ordained for a covenant, that they should observe it forever among all the children of Yisrael. For Yishmael and his sons and his brothers and Esau, Yahweh did not cause to approach him, and he did not choose them, because they are the children of Avraham, because he knew them, but he chose Yisrael to be his people. And he kadosh them, and gathered them from among all the children of men, for there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his. And over all he has placed spirits and authority to lead them astray from him. But over Yisrael he did not appoint any messenger or spirit, for he alone is their ruler, and he shall preserve them and require them at the hand of his messengers and his spirits, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may preserve them and barak them, and that they may be his, and he may be theirs, from this time and forever. Amen. And now I announce to you that the children of Yisrael shall not keep true to this law, and they shall not circumcise their sons according to all this Torah, for in the flesh of their circumcision they shall omit this circumcision of their sons. And all of them, sons of Belial, shall leave their sons uncircumcised as they were born, and there shall be great wrath from Yahweh against the children of Yisrael, because they have forsaken his covenant and turned aside from his word, and provoked and blasphemed, inasmuch as they do not observe the law of this Torah. For they have treated their members like the Gentiles, so that they may be removed and rooted out of the land. and there shall no more be pardon or forgiveness to them for all the sin of this straying forever. Goodness me. Chapter 16. And on the new moon of the 4th month we appeared to Avraham at the terebinth of Mamre, and we walked with him, and we announced to him that a son would be given to him by Sarah his wife. And Sarah laughed, for she heard that we had spoken these words with Avraham, and we admonished her, and she became afraid and denied that she had laughed on account of the words. And we told her the name of her son, as his name is ordained and written in the tablets of the Shamayim, Yitzchak. And when we returned to her at an appointed time, she would have conceived a son. And in this month Yahweh executed his judgments on Sodom and Amorah and Sevoim and all the region of the Yarden, and he burned them with fire and sulphur and destroyed them until this day. Even as I have declared to you all their works, that they are evil and exceedingly wicked, and that they defile themselves and commit whoring in their flesh, and work uncleanness on the earth. And in like manner Elohim shall execute judgment on the places where they have done according to the uncleanness of the Sodomites, like the judgment of Sodom. But Lot we saved, for Elohim remembered Avraham, and sent him out from the midst of the overthrow. And he and his daughters committed sin on the earth, such as had not been on the earth since the days of Adam till this time, for the man lay with his daughters. And see, it was commanded and engraved concerning all his seed on the tablets of the Shamayim to remove them and root them out, and to execute judgment upon them like the judgment of Sodom, and to leave no seed of the man on earth on the day of condemnation. And in this month Avraham moved from Hebron and departed and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur in the mountains of Gerar. And in the middle of the 5th month he moved from there and dwelt on Beersheba. And in the middle of the 6th month Yahweh visited Sarah, and did to her as he had spoken, and she conceived, and she bore a son in the 3rd month. And in the middle of the month, at the time of which Yahweh had spoken to Avraham, on the festival of the first fruits of the harvest, Yitzchak was born. And Avraham circumcised his son on the 8th day. He was the first that was circumcised according to the covenant, which is ordained forever. And in the 6th year of the 4th week he came to Avraham to Beersheba, and we appeared to him. And we had told Sarah that we would return to her, and she would have conceived a son. And we returned in the 7th month, and found Sarah with child before us. And we barach him, and we announced to him all the matters which had been established concerning him, that he would not die till he should bring forth 6 more sons, and should see them before he died. But in Yitzchak should his name and seed be called. And all the seed of his sons should be Gentiles, and be reckoned with the Gentiles. But from the sons of Yitzchak one should become a Kodesh seed, and should not be reckoned among the Gentiles. For he should become the portion of the Most High, and all his seed had fallen into the possession of Elohim, that it should be to Yahweh a people for possession above all nations, and that it should become a reign and Kohanim and a Kodesh nation. And we went our way, and we announced to Sarah all that we had told him. And they both rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And he built there an altar to Yahweh, who had delivered him, and who was making him rejoice in the land of his sojourning. And he celebrated a festival of joy in this month 7 days, near the altar which he built at Beersheba. And he built booths for himself and for his servants on this festival. And he was the first to celebrate the festival of Sukkot on the earth. And during these 7 days, he brought each day to the altar a burnt offering to Yahweh, 2 bulls, 2 rams, 7 sheep, 1 goat for a sin offering, to make atonement for himself and for his seed. And as a slaughtering of thanksgiving, 7 rams, 7 young goats, 7 sheep, and 7 goats, and their grain offerings, and their drink offerings. And he burned all the fat of them on the altar, a choice offering to Yahweh, for a sweet-smelling fragrance. And morning and evening he burned fragrant substances, frankincense, galbanum, and fragrant gum, and nard, and myrrh, and spice, and cinnamon. All these 7 he offered crushed, mixed together in equal parts, pure. And he celebrated this festival during 7 days, rejoicing with all his heart and with all his being, he and all those who were in his house. And there was no stranger with him, nor any that was uncircumcised. And he Barak his Creator, who had created him in his generation, for he had created him according to his good pleasure, for he knew and perceived that from him would arise the branch of righteousness for the everlasting generations, and from him a Kodesh seed, so that it should become like him who had made all matters. Wow. Verse 27, and he Barak and rejoiced, and he called the name of this festival the festival of Yahweh, a joy acceptable to the Most High El. And we Barak him forever, and all his seed after him throughout all the generations of the earth, because he celebrated this festival in its season according to the witness of the tablets of the Shamayim. For this reason it is ordained on the tablets of the Shamayim concerning Yisrael, that they shall celebrate the festival of Sukkot 7 days with joy, in the 7th month acceptable before Yahweh, a law forever throughout their generations every year. And to this there is no limit of days. For it is ordained forever regarding Yisrael, that they should celebrate it and dwell in booths, and put wreaths upon their heads, and take leafy branches and willows of the stream. And Avraham took branches of palm trees, and the fruit of good trees, and every day, going round the altar with the branches 7 times in the morning, he praised and gave thanks to his Elohim for all matters in joy. Amen. So, I've actually got to the end of chapter 16. I meant to only read to the end of 15. I just got carried away reading. That was amazing to read. Anyway, I hope you all enjoy the word as much as I do. It does really lift you up. So let's lift up our hands to the Most High El and thank him for all he teaches us. Most beloved Abba Yahweh Elohim, we are humbled before you in every way. We are in awe of your power and glory. You truly know everything. Why wouldn't you know everything as a creator? You shine in this darkness and we follow your light. Thank you, Father, for your light. Thank you for drawing us together here for your light, with your light, and pitching tents with us. We live and walk through this wilderness, holding on to you, Father. Thank you for the word that feeds our spirit, and thank you for the Comforter who helps us understand and interprets our prayers to you. We see clearly in this world today deceptions being publicly exposed and your wrath being poured out where you will. Thank you, Father, for turning our faces to you, for changing our hearts, for marking us and calling us out. Thank you for your guidance and love and your dedication to your creation, your Kodeshah. Great in Kodeshah you are. You are who we live for. Empty us out and fill us full of you, that your light shines in us for all to witness. Thank you for always being on my mind and always filling up my heart, for being with me in every step and every action I take here. I'm at my best and happiest filling up with you and walking in the light of your truth, which has become the air I breathe. We await your return, Father, with great anticipation and excitement. Come, Yeshua, come. Through Yeshua, I ask and pray in Yahweh. Yahweh, our Kodesh and Ehad, Elohim. Amen. So, Mishpachah and Havarim and all who join me here, thank you for listening to this book with me once again. Onward and upward. We're watching and waiting, all together, separately, as one. I pray I meet you soon here or there. Much joy and love, much hedwah and ehav to you all. I pray you have everything you need to be whole and complete. Shalom.